What is good, everyone? Happy Friday to you. I'm back again with more Splitgate. This game makes me happy, and every time I post it in the comments, you guys show massive support. So I know this game still is in good graces with the people who have tried it. And if you haven't yet, you need to. It's one of the best free-to-play FPS games in the arena space that you can pick up right now. We didn't talk in the last video much about how Splitgate is doing in the overall FPS scene. And I want to deep dive there and make a case today that talks about why this game is still winning, even after all of these years. And it doesn't have the numbers that it did during last summer's big renaissance, the big popularity surge for the game, but the numbers still are very encouraging to me, and I want to talk about that today. First of all, when most players are talking about games being dead, you have to have two distinctions there. There's the term that gets thrown out all the time of dead game, and that usually refers to it not having the viewership or the visibility of some of the other popular, like, top 3 FPS games on Twitch or on YouTube. That does not mean it's dead to the point where you can't find a match. Now, maybe I'm just an old fart here, but when I was gaming growing up, a dead game literally meant there were not enough players for you to find matches consistently. That is what a dead game meant. And Splitgate is not that. And pretty much most of the games that Twitter or people online say are dead are not that. It just means it's not probably big enough for creators to make a full-time living just streaming or creating content about that game. So there's two very different distinctions here. On the Splitgate side, this game is one that I've been with since the very beginning. And it did not have a massive audience, but it always had a dedicated fan base. That was until last summer. Call of Duty Warzone was experiencing a lot of cheating problems, and thus so many content creators fled the game and pushed over into Splitgate. And you can see that if we come over to the Steam charts here, right at the beginning of June or so, the numbers rose and rose and rose and rose and smashed up into record-setting territory. A lot of this was because the popularity of big content creators on Call of Duty coming over into Splitgate, promoting the game, saying this is an awesome alternative, and eventually that hype and buzz died down, but it was enough momentum for 1047 Games to draw massive attention to their studio, the game, the efforts that they were doing, and get some financial backing to update this game and make it something that will be big and, really hopefully competitive with some of these other top tier titles. Now, if you look at the numbers today, it's about 2,000 for the 24-hour peak. If we roll it back to the end of January when the last big update came out, you can see about 3,500, and this is just on Steam. This game is also on PlayStation and Xbox. I don't know, since we don't have visibility into those numbers, what of the two platforms has the most, but if we're to assume the same population size for all three, that's not bad. You're looking at concurrent player counts in the 5 to 12,000 range at any given point. That is really exciting and is not a dead game status for an FPS title. For reference, if you watch the channel, I'm somebody who grew up playing games like Quake and Unreal Tournament. I loved Nexus and Titanfall and Lawbreakers. So for me, the term dead game, in the sense of Lawbreakers, it is. You cannot play that game. And after just a month of that game being out, it was really hard to find matches. The Steam numbers were crushingly low. Splitgate, on the other hand, is out here with numbers that is competing with some other top titles. I mean, I'll bring in Halo Infinite to show for an example here. Now, obviously, Infinite is going to have a much larger player base over on the Xbox side, which is not going to be represented in the PC player base. Plus, Infinite isn't as fun, in my opinion, on mouse and keyboard as it is on controller, which in essence can definitely drive away more PC players. But comparatively, you take an indie studio like 1047 Games, a title like Splitgate that really hasn't had a whole lot of marketing push or large updates to the game since, I want to say, Infinite came out. You have the map creator, but that's about it in this new season, which is cool, but no gigantic momentum behind it, and it's still yielding solid numbers. What that says to me is that there is a core community here who likes the game, enough so to keep it where other players can hop in at any point. The only thing that's really left for Splitgate now to achieve that next leg is truly to pick a strategic moment this year, launch a host of new maps, maybe some new modes, and some great marketing content to go along with it, and you win. If you're in the driver's seat here, you look at the content calendar for Apex Legends, COD, Halo, Battlefield, and you try and pick a moment where you think A content drought is available for all three of those things. Then Splitgate comes in with a huge marketing push, all the sponsored videos, the sponsored streams, and that would be like a huge update to the game. Something with new maps, new modes, like a full new battle pass, and maybe even something that is like mechanically a huge new addition to the game, like maybe new weapons to the sandbox. And then you're back in the limelight again. And that push brings in a bunch of new players who haven't tried this FPS game before. Some of them stick around, and that's sort of the method to win in this era for FPS games. You're not ever going to have one of these peaks stay at that large level, like the 60 or 70,000 concurrent player base continually. It's always going to have a peak and then a cool off because there's so many good games to play as FPS players. People are going to jump around. But every one of these content drops, every one of these moments to get in front of a bigger audience grows that core dedicated player base, the ones who keep coming back to it, people like myself who may not play the game every single day, but I keep coming back to it a few times a month, every single month for years. And that is the route. Additionally, I think a file share feature is something that's overlooked in a lot of games, but it is so useful. If we go back to Halo 3, the ability to share screenshots and videos in the actual game itself is a big win. It creates a buzz, and user-generated content is free to the developer. They've already got the map creator mode there. It's just not that accessible for the, very low-tier player, somebody who isn't very familiar with the game, to play some of those new maps. Get them into matchmaking, get some visibility ahead of, your really entry-level player. Win-win, win-win-win. In summary, to be like 30% the size of some of the AAA FPS games right now in terms of that concurrent player base, without a very dedicated or large marketing campaign is huge. It shows that there is traction here for a solid game. There's awesome mechanics in Splitgate, and there is a core fan base here that can help power its next big surge. It's all about the timing though. That is what matters. If you're new to Splitgate and you want to have an edge right off the bat, click the tip video on the screen. Some settings and keybinds you absolutely want to have set up right from the get-go. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a great weekend, and I'll see you again very soon.